Hello, everybody. Welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by former Georgia Bulldogs head coach Jim Donnan and, of course, Dayne Young, our managing editor. But you all are here to see Coach Donnan and what he has to say about this Georgia-Texas game and probably get his thoughts on Charlotte. I know we won't spend a whole lot of time on Charlotte, but if you have questions about him or questions about the future of the program, Georgia Tech or the playoff committee or anything that's going on right now, go ahead and pop those into the comment section. We will get to them. Twitter was down this morning, as was the UGA Sports due to the Cloudflare outage. So we don't have as many questions this week. So now is the perfect time to get your questions in and have Coach answer them. But I get to ask the first one. That's a prerogative of being the show's host. And Coach, I want to get your thoughts on this Texas game. I thought it was nip and tuck for 3 quarters, but that fourth quarter, 21 points and just a walloping of the Texas Longhorns, who they were healthy. They had nobody on the unavailability report, and they had the week off prior. Not exactly how I expected that game to play out, and I think it caught a lot of people off guard, but maybe it shouldn't have.
I'd like to say that I knew it was going to happen. Nobody knows that, but the main thing is, for me, is just that our team has developed as the season has progressed, which is a real testimony to the players, the staff, the support staff. A lot of reasons why we have developed, but it just seems like whatever we need to do in the fourth quarter, except for the Bama game, we've been able to do that this year. And that's because you just coach that mentality to your players and you have the ability to handle situations that come up during the course of a game. And just the fact that we rolled off 21 points and they only had the ball for 3 plays. So, I mean, there's no way any team can sustain a victory when they only have the ball for 3 plays and you scored 3 touchdowns. So brilliant tactician that Kirby is, utilizing the fact that I saw him on Thursday where they're practicing that onside kick. They practice it all the time, but you got to call it at the right situation. And and you and I mentioned it off air this morning. There were 95,000 people there at that game. And I don't know how many players and coaches and all, but I'd have to say that like the Ivory commercial, 99 and 93% of the people left knowing that Sark was definitely Kirby was in his head when that game left. It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, after the game, a lot of people gave Kirby Smart credit for the onside kick call, which Georgia had not successfully hit an onside kick since 2013. Not that they've needed to hit many of those, but it's rare. You saw something you haven't seen in 12 years. The timing was right. Nobody was expecting it. You were expecting it because you'd seen it, but nobody else was. And I mentioned on Twitter that Kirby's such a conservative coach, and you don't expect that from defensive guys, but he takes chances. And I noticed that on SEC Network and ESPN and some of the other places that I caught the post game up, everybody was saying Kirby Smart, the best coach in America, not one of, not among the, not could be considered. It was Kirby Smart, comma, best coach in America, comma. And I'm like, oh, it just became definitive. And I get you can't make it all on one play, but the fact that he's won a couple titles and you see the coaching job that's being done this year with them getting behind and coming out of these, like you said, being able to come back in the fourth quarter, being able to come back from these deficits. I thought some of the offensive plays and defensive plays, the 2 fourth down calls the week before, putting guys faking the punts or putting the punt team on, then putting the offense on, then doing it twice, and basically just coaching circles around people. And I give Mike Bobo and Glenn Schumann credit. Some of the defensive schemes we saw last week were brilliant. The offense, the tackle over on the 4th down call was lovely. And it was very fun to watch people say this is a typical Kirby Smart team and Kirby Smart machination where he is the preeminent college football coach, not just a recruiter. Because remember, they always say, oh, he's got the best team, but some of the stuff they pulled in this was brilliant, Coach.
Yeah, I think the adaptation of this year's team of coaching around some of the weaknesses we have and also utilizing our strengths has been very paramount to our success. And you look back into everybody getting on Kirby's ass for faking the punt in the SEC championship game with Fields. I mean, it didn't work, so he's a lousy coach. But now that this works, he's a great coach. So you just got to have the situation that presents itself, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But the way I always looked at special plays like that is just you work on them, and your kids believe in it, and you just got to get to have the feeling about when to use it. But as you mentioned, both our coordinators have adapted to our personnel, and we're hard to stop on offense. I mean, we stopped ourselves with the one turnover, but really are using everybody. And you look back to that Alabama game, some of the people we had playing at tackle, nothing against those guys, but now you got all conference type guys like Freeling and Green and Gaston in there. Bring on Bama. I'd like to play them again.
We do have a question on the decision making with the onside kick. So this is from HugDog18 on the Dog Vent. Says it was a stroke of genius for Kirby to do that, removed all hope from Texas because Georgia executed it perfectly. How much of that call is the staff seeing something on tape, or is it just a gut feeling, or both?
I think a little bit of both, Dane, but I think the main part of it is you watch the other team in all different phases in this kicking game, just like you do defense and offense, and you see maybe a little tendency where they're not doing something which you can maybe exploit. So you always look at the front five and see if they turn their heads, and is there a chance for you to maybe kick it in front of them, or if they really get if they're really not going very deep, maybe kicking between them and the second area, like pooch it over their head. So you're always your special teams guys like Kirk Benedict and Javier King and those guys that work on it. They're looking for areas where you can practice that. And then if the game situation shows it, you can make it work. But seriously, how many times have we watched those guys do those kicks and it doesn't take that big bounce? I mean, that was a perfect kick. We talk about our guy being such a great kickoff and an extra point field goal, but that was a perfect deal there. I know when I was in college, I didn't kick off, but they had me as the guy that put his hands down to tell everybody when to go. But the reason they had me is because I could kick the onside kick. I could go up there and top the ball and it bounce and go up. And I think I was 2 for 2 in my career, but I was nervous about it. I can tell you that. But it really is a hard thing to master. But I think to answer the question as succinctly as I can, it's a feel for the game, the situational type, and it's also what's the risk and the reward. Well, the risk was we were going to give the ball to them on our side of the 50, but the reward was we could steal a possession, and they must have thought it was 50-50 there. And at that point in the game, that had to be deflating to the Longhorns. They'd gotten a little chance for success. They were only down 14-10. Then we score. Now we kick off again, and so all of a sudden, instead of being down 14-10, it's 21-10. Now it's 28-10. Then they get the ball for 3 plays, and now it's 35-10. So just a mash there in the fourth quarter, a real mash.
That's the piece of the decision making that was interesting to me, because it was an 11-point game. You can be extra aggressive because even in the worst case scenario, you still have a lead and you get the ball back. If that's an 8-point lead, I'm curious if Kirby makes the same decision.
I would say probably not, and unless he just felt like you're itching to run it. You know what I mean? Your players know it can work, and particularly Cash being from Texas, you got to think that's a lifetime thing. He'll have a picture of that in his office there at that cement place where his dad works, because just sticking on the Longhorns, just the fact that that's a great state. I mean, a lot of tremendous people in it, but so many of them are Longhorn fans, and the rest of his life, I mean, it's like Buck Bellew throwing that pass, to Lindsey Scott. I mean, that'll go down as one of the plays in Georgia history, that fake. That was just unbelievable.
Jermaine King, a great friend of the show, makes a good point. Says, also, Coach, you kept away from a pretty good returner there too.
Oh yeah, we did a good job in the kicking game, and you look at we saw Zachariah coming back with that first kickoff for the second half, and he had a good punt return too. Boy, I tell you, when he caught that ball over the middle and then just juked his way down to the 10, I mean, you could just see the electricity there in his legs, just the way he moves around. I hope he can keep it up.
We were all screaming, "Don't run backwards," because he had the first down. He loops back around, and we're like, "Oh God!" And then all of a sudden, he's 15 yards downfield. You're like, "Yeah, exactly, like I told you to." So I'm with you on the offense. I mean, you put up 35 points on the nation's #2 run defense, and Georgia ran it pretty well at times. But Coach, I want to talk to you about the defense. Texas scored on a short field, but other than that, I was not expecting this strong a performance from the Georgia defense. You saw Elijah Griffin just getting through that Texas offensive front, pressuring the quarterback. A lot of balls batted down, a lot of pass breakups that had been completed in the past. 3 sacks, which is, I took the under on sacks. I think the over-under was 2.5 on sacks. I took the under and hoping I would be wrong. I'm like, I'll be happy if Georgia gets more than 2.5 sacks. They're going to win this ball game. They got 3, and I just thought that the pressure from that they put on the quarterback, they got after Arch Manning a lot. They got a strip sack, took away the running lanes, and knocked down some passes. Granted, they dropped a few, but I thought this was a much better defensive performance. And in other words, it tells me that the Mississippi State thing was not a fluke.
Yeah, when you just look at the matchup, and we talked about it. Hopefully, the fans watch our show every week. We talk about the people that Texas has lost from last year. Their offensive line it was not near as good. And last year we pummeled their line. Michael Williams and Walker. Just first half, it was incredible how we rushed the passer. So we had some good pass rush schemes that we used last year that used some of them this year, some new ones. And then, our secondary relies on them dropping some passes, that's for sure. They did drop some critical balls that would have been first downs that could have hurt us because that's 3 more downs. But that's all part of it. But the vertical pressure we got and the hands up in his face and, for the most part, you saw what Arch was capable of. He's got a really good arm and he moves around well in the pocket. But I think Georgia showed just to me, if you go back to the first 2 weeks of the season when everybody's jumping on Gunner, that's another reason why I hope they watch our show. I told you then that don't worry about it. I didn't know he was going to be quite this good. I thought he's going to be good, but I was worried about our offensive line at that point. But I watched the guy in practice, and you got to earn your spurs. But I knew he was able to do it, and I wasn't worried about Austin Peay and Marshall. But really, Austin Peay's done better defensively against us than Texas or all these teams, Texas and Kentucky and all that. Austin Peay's probably going to be in the playoffs. They got a good team. So we'll see. Charlotte doesn't. So I'm not going to – there's no way I can put lipstick on a pig now. I mean, this team is among the lesser talented teams that have come into Sanford Stadium in a long time. But, more than likely they'll probably play out of their minds and we'll make some mistakes. It's not a real shouldn't be much of a test.
Shout out to Tammy Barrett for being a member of our YouTube channel. We appreciate that, Tammy. Thank you very much. It helps keep us on the air, if you will.
How many subscribers you got now?
Subscribers to the show, I think we have 54,000, 54.5, something like that. So trying to get to 55,000, then onward to 100. So that's
we're at 55.4.
55.4. Okay, I had it. Yeah.
Everybody has a favor to the old coach. Just ask somebody's watching today. Tell 2 of your friends to subscribe to this show, and there's a chance that Coach Donnan might drop off if we don't hit 60,000. Although there's not a real good chance.
That's emotional. That's blackmail, Coach. I love it.
But I mean, they might say, "Look, take your name off of it. We don't want them to get it." So, but I'd be a real favor to me. That's something you could do because I'd like for you to get that up there where you can show everybody you got 60,000. Just like when we had over 200,000 for the watch along show, that was incredible.
That was nuts. Folks tuning in to hear your analysis, and Coach was on. If you didn't watch, if you were at the game and you couldn't see the watch along show, Coach was on the heater calling the plays before they came. He's like, "We need to toss it to the tight end here in the flats." It was a toss to the tight end in the flats. We need to give it to Dylan Bell on a just hand it to him on a run. Get it to Dylan Bell. He's like, a tight end wrap here will be nice. Tight end wrap touchdown.
Yeah, well, that was, but I had a little bit of intuition about it. But I think the fact that we got so many ways to hurt people, but that what we're trying to do is use different formations, but run the same stuff, but make it a little bit different. And Mike's doing an incredible job setting plays up, just really make it look like something and do something else. And I'm sure Dayne and Brent are doing some capturing that on the Film Don't Lie segment that they have.
Yeah, the wins via formation were mind-boggling all night. And again, like I said, Glenn Schumann too. I kind of felt like for the first half of the season, the shine was off Glenn Schumann's star for a bit there, but the way Gabe Harris has come on, the way Quintavious Johnson has come on, Rashawn Dinkins is making a name for himself. Zayden Walker, the true freshman, had a big play. Chris Colt, Georgia held Texas, number 10 Texas, to 10 points. Third time that they've beaten them in 2 years. They held them to 23 yards rushing without C.J. Allen. Chris Cole comes in, and there wasn't a whole lot of drop-off or any drop-off. So I was very impressed with again, newcomers. We're saying new names every week, or guys who are just this is their first year playing. Kirby Smart said that in last spring. He said it at SEC Media Days. He said it the first day of fall camp. And he kept saying, guys, we are young. And we almost feel like that's coach speak. All coaches talk about how inexperienced they are, but I think he was trying to not exactly set the bar, but set the expectations of where this defense was. And you saw the mistakes early on, but DeMello Jones, coach, had a hell of a game. So there's we're saying a lot of new names and new numbers, and I have to have my roster in front of me when we watch this Georgia defense because some of these guys are really starting to emerge.
I think really benefit from the 2 open dates, just the fact that the way the schedules kind of moved along, that you can work some guys in, and same thing with this week. I'm sure we'll be ready for Charlotte, but you can work some of these guys in and get them maybe in the game a little more and keep building your depth, and that really aids to your special teams because we've lost some really good players this year for the season. I mean, when you look at Colby Young, but fortunately, Thomas has taken his place and stepped up and done really well there. And then, the fact we lost Kyron Jones in the secondary, and we're Thomas and Branch are coming along there. But and just one thing, and now Allen's probably going to be out for a little bit, but it's just it's a broken record here about things, but I just feel good about our team. The belief which you always wanted in a coach with your team is that what I always talk to them about, are you coachable? And what that means is when a coach says something, you're going to believe in it and you're going to do everything humanly possible to make it work instead of setting up barriers and say, well, I don't know if I can do this. But as long as you're working to listen to the coach and believe in them, and it's pretty obvious the way our team believes in Kirby and believes in the staff because they know that some way, somehow, they're going to put you in a position to win. And sometimes the best team doesn't always win, but sometimes the best team loses because they don't have that belief. And we got that here.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in this Georgia offensive line right now. You touched on something that I had forgotten when you mentioned the Alabama game. I forgot that they had played – I think they started the game with Jaw Jackson and Daniel Calhoun at the tackle spots. And having Monroe Freeling out was huge. That guy won the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week this past week. Again, Remember, he also did it after the Mississippi State game where he was basically hobbled and his back-to-back weeks. He is a force. And then you see Ernest Green go hunting on a pin and pull. And I don't know if it's a cornerback or safety. Number 5 for Texas just gets absolutely destroyed. And these offensive linemen, coach, they are hunting. When they run gap scheme, they come running through those those holes. It's all hands on deck. And I'm thinking, you mentioned earlier, I'd like to you want to see Alabama again. I would really like to see Georgia's offensive line against this Alabama team and the maturation of Gunner. He just looks so much better. And after we have a quick commercial break, we're going to talk about some of the Gunner stuff.
Well,
that O-line is nasty.
But, I don't know how Gunner could do any better than he did against Tennessee. So maybe he has improved. I don't know. But they're running him a little more. But I just believe that and we had the same issue at Tennessee, having to move guys around. And Bo came in there and did a great job, particularly in the third and fourth quarter. But the reality is, for me, is as a coach, and I talked to Jim Tressel a little bit about it last night. He was speaking at the Touchdown Club here, and we were talking about 1AA playoffs, about how your team at the end of the year, you really need to be healthy, because you're going to play 4 games. Like we used to have to play 4 games after the regular season, and now you're going to see the same thing with Georgia. I mentioned it to Kirby last week when I saw him. Last week was halfway through the season if we get to the national championship game. Do you realize that?
No.
There's like 71 days left before the national championship game last Thursday, and we've been practicing and everything for like 70-some days. So we got a half a season left. You guys will get to, or y'all, I don't like to say you guys, y'all will get to see us all the way for 71 more days. So, because we're going to make it. We're going to get there.
I love it. All right. So if we're 70 days away, there's 2 games left, Charlotte and then Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech plays on the Friday after Thanksgiving.
You going to fact check me on this?
No.
Okay. Just kidding.
You want to let me roll into my commercial here? I was trying to set up a nice transition, and you really.
All right. That's good.
Just say we're very close. The last game will be the day after Thanksgiving. The day before Thanksgiving, you're going to have friends and family at your house, and you need to have good food. I'm going to tell you now you better do this quickly. It's November 18th. If you want to get your orders in for the good pies from Darden's Delights, do it now. I got on my screen the butterscotch pie. I'm looking at that thing and drooling a little bit. It's Darden's luscious butterscotch pie. Of course, they have the holy moly peanut butter cup pie and the perfectly pumpkinlicious pie. My point is, they have fantastic pies. Now is the time. Go ahead and order it. Don't say, well, I need to do it the week of. It's going to come frozen to you. So the packaging is immaculate. It's going to come perfect. And go ahead and toss it in your freezer. Or get your orders in now. I remember early on in the season, the folks at Darden's Delights were absolutely swamped with the orders. So get your order in now. Or do it for Christmas. Christmas will be here, or for the first playoff game, or for the national championship game. But Betsy Glass and the folks at Darden's Delights, that is a fantastic company run by Georgia alums, multiple generations of Georgia, either attendees or alums. And a lot of the proceeds from their pies go to help children with developmental disabilities, like little Miss Darden herself. So please check out Darden's Delights. They are huge Georgia fans, and I guarantee you they were on cloud 9 in pie heaven watching Georgia whip Texas. So get a celebratory pie. Grab one of those.
I guarantee you this right here. I wanted you to subscribe to our channel. But if you order one of those pies and you don't like it, get Roddy to DM me and I'll send you a check for it. I promise you. You can't eat any better pies than this.
You cannot.
The only thing I don't like about it, she gave me too many of them, and I can't eat. I'm eating too much pie. I got to cut back on that.
They're gonna take your foot, Coach.
Hey, they're just. Will definitely make a bulldog break its chain. That's what those pies will do.
Amen. Now, if you need to swing by and pick one up in person, you need a new vehicle for that. So check out our friends at Athens Ford. the deals that they have going on at the end of the year, we talked about these on the Watch Along Show, fantastic deals. And if you actually buy one of these vehicles, you can, they're doing the thing now where they're from November 15th through December 15th, a full month. They're supporting the Salvation Army Angel Tree and Toys for Tots for their annual toy donation drive. It's a huge event. You can see they got a truck bed there of a Ford F-150, absolutely filled with toys already. And then, of course, as you know, from a couple days ago through December 15th, it'll be hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of toys that they will buy at Athens Ford to help with the Salvation Army Christmas Angel Tree. So you're going to get a fantastic deal because it's November, December, and all the year-end deals are here. So they want to get rid of all the 2025s. The financing deals that are coming through Ford are off the charts. And, of course, you can jump on a new 2026. So check out our friends at Athens Ford. You will not be sorry that you did so.
Right, Coach, I know you want to get into Gunnar Stockton. After Gunnar Stockton, I want to set the table for SEC, Roddy.
Yeah. I was surprised that Gunnar Stockton did not win SEC Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week.
Who won?
I forgot. I'm like, he had 5 incompletions. He had 5 touchdowns. He completed 83% of his passes. I thought that was, I mean, again, against a very good Texas defense. I was very impressed with that. And after the game, you know, your buddy Kirk Herbstreit, I know y'all are friends. He starts to lead the way saying, why isn't this kid getting more Heisman talk? But aside from the Heisman talk, I don't know that there are very few quarterbacks playing at the level that he is against the competition that he has.
Yeah, I saw a stat today that listed some of the players in the past in the SEC, their quarterback rating. Joe Burrow, Mac Jones, Tua, Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton. You know, some of these guys won the Heisman Trophy, and they're all over 90% QBR. He's 90 right now. So he's the only one even in the area code, and he's right there with those guys that were elite. You know, when you look at Tua and Burrow and Mac Jones. Of course, Mac was throwing the ball behind the line a lot to Smith, but he did a great job with it. But I just believe that all those awards will come if they come. It's kind of like when Stetson was playing. You know, he came on strong at the end, and he got to go to New York. But you know, it was Caleb Williams' year that year. But reality is, just keep on winning, and all those awards will take care of himself.
There were co-offensive players of the week. Ahmad Hardy, the running back at Missouri, had 25 carries for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Kewan Lacey, running back at Ole Miss, ran for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I tell you, when you get that many yards rushing, it's hard not to give it to them. And,
you have to. 300 yards, good God.
But going against that vaunted Mississippi State Bulldog defense.
Yeah.
For a guy to get that many yards rushing against Florida, pretty impressive. But Florida's guy got a lot of rushing yardage on Ole Miss too. That Ball guy had a lot, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Check that, Dane. See how many yards Ball had.
While he's checking that, I want to give the folks who might have missed this a quick Gunnar Stockton note. Georgia's played 4 ranked teams: Ole Miss, Alabama, Texas, and Tennessee. In the fourth quarter, just the fourth quarter, Gunnar Stockton is 23 of 26. He's only had 3 incompletions in the fourth quarter. He's thrown for 262 yards in the fourth quarter of those games, and he has 6 touchdowns in those games. So he has 2 times the number of touchdowns than he does incompletions in the fourth quarter against 4 ranked teams. So I'm just saying that's clutch, Coach. That's not padding your numbers against the Austin Peays and the Charlottes and the Mississippi States of the world. You know, that's not going after the bottom feeders of the SEC or out of conference stuff. Against 4 ranked teams, he has been absolute money in the fourth quarter. That just sounds like a kid that does not get rattled.
Yeah, you can't say that about him. That's for sure. He definitely believes in himself. Players believe in him too. Coaches, I mean, he's got that it factor.
Jaden Ball has 61 rushing yards against Ole Miss.
Well, that's about 100 less than I thought he had.
Let's set the table for Georgia's SEC championship hopes. If it's all chalk, Georgia will not play for the SEC championship. It would be Texas A&M versus Alabama. Alabama having the tiebreaker over Georgia because of their head-to-head matchup. If either of those teams lose, Georgia would vault up into the SEC championship game. So if you want Georgia to be in that game, you either need Texas to beat Texas A&M, which I think after that first half that we saw against South Carolina with Texas A&M, totally possible that A&M loses that game. But then also it could happen where Alabama goes to Auburn at night at Jordan-Hare. Thanksgiving weekend, that could be a little dicey too. If those two teams win, Georgia would skip the SEC championship, still potentially get a bye in the college football playoff. But that's the situation right now. If both teams lose, there is a scenario where Georgia could have a rematch with Ole Miss in the SEC championship.
Yeah, maybe one of you guys can clarify this. I know that head-to-head is a deal, but there's also a deal that if a couple teams would lose on strength of schedule for Alabama, even though Alabama wins out, we could get in. If all of a sudden Tennessee would lose to Vanderbilt, that was a strong win for them, beating Tennessee, and they beat Vanderbilt. But, it's just one of those deals where you look at all that. But from my perspective as a coach, people are saying, well, and they're basing it on last year when we didn't play that good when we won the championship. But I like the fact you just can't leave it to chance. If you win the SEC, you're going to get the bye. And I like the bye and I like the draw. You're going to play a lesser schedule that first game, even though Notre Dame should have been somebody we beat. We didn't. But I can't worry about last year. But I know how much you talk to your players. One of your goals when you start out the year is beat your rivals, which we've done, except for Tech, we hadn't played. Win the SEC. That's number 2. So you just can't look at it like, well, we could be better off not playing. Maybe we would, but I like the fact that if you got a chance to play for the SEC championship and you can put that ring on your finger, that's a pretty dang good championship to win.
Kirby was adamant when asked about it yesterday, and that he of course he wants to win every game he plays, but he had a strong pitch for it. It looks like he wants to be in that game and wants that title. So I was thinking this is a man who leaves nothing to chance, even how quickly the grass is going to grow on his practice field. And I'm not joking about that. He actually plans for it.
Just resodded the field, get ready for all the postseason stuff. So they got that one field that doesn't get much grass, light on the grass. So he's ready for those 71 other days.
Are you serious?
Serious as Berlin, man.
Didn't know that. I remembered he did this a while back, a couple years ago, knowing that I don't think a lot of people had them pegged for the postseason. And Kirby's like, yeah, we're going to be there. Let's get new sod down. So we're ready to practice. And so again, that's stuck with me. So he's done it again. Point being, when he was asked about the possible scenarios of not playing in the SEC championship game, he has looked at the advantages and disadvantages of it. And there seemed to be no official hesitation or no unofficial hesitation saying that, yes, we want to be in that game. We want that title. And I'm like, okay, well, Kirby looks at the analytics, and I think the analytics wants him to, or in his mind, the analytics are say play in the SEC championship game, get the bye, like you're saying. And I think he'd like worst case scenario, you don't get it. I mean, you're left out, not completely, but as you say, Coach, you'd have that guarantee of being the SEC champions, and I'm all for it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's one other thing. Looking ahead as far as you can, if all three of us had to pick the team that's the most likely to be the most competitive against us, you would say Ohio State.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that?
Yes, sir.
Dayne, would you say that?
Most likely. I think Ohio State's a little unproven, but I do think they have the most talent. So I'll say yes.
Oh, they're definitely unproven. Their schedule, I mean, they barely beat Texas. But if you just look at the draw, if you are in and have one of the byes and you're ranked 2 or 3, you're going to be in a different bracket than them, and you would play them for the national championship. If you're not in the top 4, then it's the luck of the draw where you're going to be in that bracket. Whose bracket are you going to be in? You're going to be playing Ohio. Let's say you have to win. You're going to have to play Ohio State in the semifinals, or you're going to play Indiana in the semifinals based on the seeding. So I like the fact that you can control your own destiny by winning the SEC, beat Tech, win the SEC. The worst you're going to be is 3, maybe 2, because Ohio State and Indiana, one of them's going to lose. So you'll be ranked 2 or maybe 1. So I like that.
I'm not so sure Ohio State beats Michigan in that final regular season game either.
Well, I mean, that you definitely, based on the last 5 years, I mean, they're definitely in their head, that's for sure. And Michigan lost Haynes, and he's out for that game. That's going to hurt them.
Yeah, that's a good point, Coach. When you talk about the guarantee that you don't have to face Ohio State or anybody else early on, which it sounds like Kirby was so adamant. But that wasn't the viral video or viral part that came out of Kirby Smart's press conference yesterday. Let's go back to Saturday when he was asked, I don't even remember what the question was, but Kirby was talking about the character of his team. And he said, look, a lot of places around the country, we got kids that want to check. They don't want to be physical. But we have developed a culture of Georgia of physicality. We've developed their guys are getting a check, but we hit here at Georgia. And I think going back to that Texas game, going back to Mississippi State, even Florida was a very physical team as well. But when Georgia gets to the playoffs, the physical nature of this team and the way these kids do hit, the way they are, like you said, Coach, they believe in Kirby. Kirby believes in them. He's taking the chances, having faith in those guys, and they've believed in the program and are now I don't say just big hits, but the coaching, the development that he's got. This is a team that's absolutely feeling it. And a lot of people took those quotes from Kirby saying, these guys don't just want to check. We want to be physical. And I felt that they were more physical than Texas. And I think they're going to be the only team I think that can match Georgia physically in the upcoming games from a physical standpoint will be Georgia Tech, just because they hate each other. So,
yeah, that's a good point for sure. But these guys want to check too. I promise.
He said they're getting paid.
Here's the thing that I would say: I'd be all for forgetting about Bloody Tuesday today with Charlotte coming up, but I'm sure we got to go out and do it. But just like to get through it. But you got to keep improving, and maybe they'll spend more time with the 2s and 3s. But you don't want to change your schedule too much.
2 things that can work out in Georgia's favor. One, I think the kickoff time for next week, that Georgia will have to be fully focused on everything with Georgia Tech, because all the stuff that will matter in the SEC, the Texas and Texas A&M game kicks off after Georgia is finished with Tech, and then it's the following day for Alabama and Auburn. So I think that's probably a little easier to keep focus. The other piece of this, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, who knows where that's going, because the reporting yesterday is that Ole Miss wants Lane Kiffin to make a commitment to them and not be flirting with these other teams.
He just denied that on the of course, you can't expect him to say anything else, but he was just on with Pat McAfee, and he denied that there's no ultimatum. But basically, he holds all the cards. There's no question about that. And you can't blame him for putting his name out there. And his agent's working all the deals. But you're right about the schedule being good. Friday. Did they play the Egg Bowl on Thursday, or when are they playing?
Is the Egg Bowl also on Friday? I'm looking that up right now. Yeah, Friday at noon.
So Friday will be a barn burner.
That's gonna be a good day. I'm excited about that one. I did want to touch on I'm going to continue my thought about Kirby and talking about his physical nature of his team.
I got to go fix my eye here. Could you take a break here?
Yeah. Talk about that when we come back. Let's go ahead and talk about our friends from Atlanta Dental Implants. Oh, I lost you, Dana.
Hi, my name's Tammy, and I have full mouth dental implants. I had some cavities, and then I had some teeth that were missing. It started getting worse, and I knew something needed to be done. Dr. Holcomb made me feel relaxed, and that's so important. I was very surprised when I saw how natural they are. They really look like my other teeth, but better. and more of them. The boost of confidence that I have is overwhelming.
Yeah, shout out to Skylar Holcomb, huge Georgia fan. Guy was on cloud nine as well when Georgia wins. He's a member of UGASports.com. So when you go into their office there, you can actually talk to him, and you can talk coaching searches at other teams. You can talk about Stacy Cereals and bags of crystals and all sorts of fun stuff with him because the guy's been through it all. Everybody that I've spoken to, once they became a sponsor of a show, I've had a lot of people reach out and say, yes, that's the guy I use. That's who I send my patients to. And a lot of it is because they can do so much in-house. And when you go, there's no sales pitch when you go in. You actually sit down and meet with Dr. Holcomb, and you're going to meet him right away. It's care from the minute you get in there, and they can do an entire mouth restoration. They have financing available. So check out our friends at Atlanta Dental Implants. You will not be sorry that you did so. They also support our 3-2-1 column, which I was dead on last week. So yeah.
You've had a run of a couple weeks of just like getting it pretty much to the T with this team.
And I've been wrong on a few things, or just like when you and I talk, or when Jed and I talk on Monday, my lack of faith in like some of the defense of the team. But I'm feeling a lot more confident about this defense. I get not leaps and bounds. I mean, but just the way the offense can get a few scores ahead and make it so much easier on the defense. The defense is like, look, we're up, like you said, 11 points. They're up. If you're up 2 scores, the other teams, instead of being 50-50 run on first down, it's more likely going to be 40-60, pass throw. So they're likely going to throw it. If they're behind the sticks a little bit more, especially down 2 or 3 scores, they're absolutely going to throw. Then all of a sudden you can run your pressure packages, and Georgia's been doing that. We've seen a lot more pressure packages that you don't see in the first quarter because the score's too tight. But as they start pulling away, it's that kind of anaconda constriction around them because the other team has to make up 1, 2, 3 scores. They got to throw it, and that makes it so much easier on Georgia's defense. And now you're playing that complementary football, and it's just if you start slipping against Georgia, it's tough to come back against them, especially when the offense can drive the field on you and just put you away. So got lucky in a few of my columns lately, but it's because this team is just really rounding into form. So should be a fun couple weeks coming up here.
Hey, Coach, I have a follow-up question for you because I like to note that this would be halfway through a national championship run in terms of days. With that being said, 2 regular season games left. Charlotte is one of those. We know Tech gets Georgia's attention. SEC championship, we'll see. But with the horde of analysts that are at these programs, how much are they beginning to peek at these other teams that you could potentially play in a college football playoff? Because shows like us, we talk about, here's a team that would be tough. You want to avoid this one. This matchup would be better. Does that happen internally already?
Sure. You got to do that. You got to get a backlog of information just because you don't want to just all of a sudden have to get ready for it that week. So they got a system in place where everybody can watch everybody in the country every week, get their tape. So you probably signing 2 or 3 different teams to one analyst, and they're just getting some basic information on them and looking at their stuff. And then as it dwindles down, then you can eliminate some of them, but it's pretty obvious. Top 15, you're going to have a good, and several of them within the league, we already got a myriad of stuff on, but I'm sure we got a backlog of stuff on Ohio State, Indiana, Iowa. Oregon, all these teams.
Well, I'm going to throw 2 more that I think would be tough playoff matchups for most any teams. I'm curious your reaction. One, and I was on this train last year, but Notre Dame, once again, I don't know that they're quite as good defensively, but they do have a quarterback that is more dangerous passing than they had last year. The other is Texas Tech with that defensive front.
Yeah, Texas Tech's defense, they put a lot of money in that, and they're definitely going to be a team to reckon with. And then, of course, Carr, as you mentioned, is a good passer. Maybe not as good on his feet as Riley was last year, or Riley Leonard. But I just believe that you only can play who you're scheduled to play, and you can't really worry about who it's going to be except just take care of your own team, and that's what you got to do. And we've done a good job with that.
I would still be worried about Ole Miss too, Roddy, because I know Georgia beat them, but that's still a team that put up 5 straight touchdowns on you to start the game. I would not want to play that offense in a postseason mode.
I mean, they definitely are got the kind of package that hurts us, but also we hurt them too. We've got and our defense probably, as Roddy mentioned, is a little better now because of some of the things we can do and the confidence that they got in the fourth quarter on them. But more than likely, if we played them, it would still be at home based on where the rankings are. But Ole Miss continue like tonight. I think they'll be ahead of Alabama, and we'll be 4, and Ole Miss will be 5, and we'll see who's where Texas Tech and Alabama end up after those groups.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry to want to see Ole Miss again. With Coach, I think Georgia stands a better chance beating Alabama than Ole Miss. But right now, I'm very high on Georgia's chances, regardless. It's
I like us against the field, except Ohio State right now. I would say,
yeah.
But in Ohio State, realistically, it's played a very mediocre schedule. And of course, the team that's played nobody except Notre Dame and they've won. But you look at A&M's ranking, and if you just pretend that my left hand is the top echelon of the SEC, the top 8, and my right hand is the bottom 8, these are the teams they played. They haven't played anybody in the top 8, not one team.
And I'll give them credit for coming back and beating South Carolina, but the fact that you were trailing by 27 and a half.
Should have been 34-3. I don't know what Shane Beamer was thinking at the end of the half. They had the ball on the 9-yard line with 24 seconds to go, and they ran a fullback in a flat pass, and I guess he must have thought it was incomplete, but they let the clock run down to 11 seconds before they called timeout with three timeouts left. So they used up 8 or 9 seconds there. So they only got to run one more play instead of 2 more, and that all that stuff adds up. But they did a great job the first half, but whatever they were doing at halftime, they need to change it because they've been ahead of 3 really good teams at half this year, and just a really tough year. I mean, they only won 1 game in the SEC. They won 1 game, 1-7, and I promise you, Coastal Carolina is going to come in there and give them all they want. Coastal Carolina is an offensive machine now. They can make things happen. I mean, that game they had last week, just back and forth. What was the final score that, Dayne? It's like almost 100 points, wasn't it? Can you check that one?
With Georgia Southern, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first quarter was like 24-17 in the first quarter.
Yeah, you pointed out the first quarter. And it was
45-40 final score. Georgia Southern won it.
Good Lord, 85 points.
So take the over, folks.
I do think the committee is going to have some tough decisions, and if TV has anything to say about it, Miami at Georgia will be spicy if Georgia's hosting a first-round game.
That's true with Beck and everything. I don't want to play Miami next to Ohio State. That'd be the team I wouldn't want to play less, probably.
Yeah, I'm with you. Coach, we got a question from Brett Goodell here. Says, Coach, with the green dot for Gunner, meaning the headset in his helmet, does Bobo tell him to, quote, hit Oscar, end quote, as the clock winds down to the 15 seconds as he's looking at the defense and the play is called?
Well, I don't know that he tells him to hit Oscar, but this is just pretend like we've got a play called here, and you get to play in, and the first thing you do is, you might say Z-jet to trips right. That would be the formation. And you say 7 slide left, 787 flat. So that's a pass. The guys are running a corner route, a post route, 2 flats, your protection sliding to the left. And then if you have already broken the huddle, more than likely you've used the wristband, and all the players are looking at wristband number 1 or wristband number 14, and they're looking at it, and he's telling the line, slide left or slide right. Or he's giving them a code word so he knows it's not a pass or a run. Then the remaining, let's say he's got all that in 26, and there's 28, 29 seconds left. So I'm going to be talking, I'm Bobo and you're a gunner. Got to watch out for pressure on the backside. Make sure if you don't get that, we're going to read it strong. If you get it weak, then let's go weak because we got one-on-one. That'd be pretty much what you'd say about it, okay? Now, let's just say we got a run call. Let's say we're in 12 personnel, and we're going to put Lucky in motion to flank left, which will give you a wing and a flanker and a slot the other way. That guy's going in motion. You can say, okay, we're going to run inside zone to the left with a RPO tag on it where the two outside guys can run whatever you want. So the tag on it would be the outside guy on the weak side, which would be the one receiver. It's going to run a quick post. The guy on the back side where you're faking it, the same side where you're faking, it's going to run a hitch, and you're going to read that linebacker there. If the linebacker comes in, you just throw it right in behind him. And so when walking to the line, hey, we're going to read number 36 here. If he comes forward, we're going to hit the Z. If he backs up, let's stay with it. That's about what you'd say.
There you go. As a good an answer as you will ever get. So that is almost the
And then if the pressure
that's exactly what happened.
if the pressure's on and you're talking, listen here, buddy, you better get this sucker going because they're going to be on my ass, getting on me about the weather. I don't want to be on me about the play call. So you better make it work. No, he wouldn't say that.
Nah, that's
So you remember that money I promised you after the game? You got none of it.
and I think Dayne has alluded to this in the past, the connection that Bobo has with Gunner and with his son, and that kind of that triumvirate right there between the coordinator, the play caller, the quarterback, his center, the offensive line. It's a smooth, well-oiled machine right now, Coach.
I remember when Mike was at South Carolina that one year, and because he liked Will, and he had that decision to make of coming here or going there, and deep down probably would have liked to come here, but there was still some issues which I won't get into. But he was saying then, I've got a tight relationship with Gunner, and I really don't want him to come here because of me, because I don't know if we're going to be here. And, he was talking about that. And then when he went to Auburn, he said, well, at least I know we're going to be at a place where I'm going to be there for a little while. And, Gunner's going to probably come here with me. I said, that's good. And then all of a sudden, he and Harsin he and Hall, and he said, well, I'm going to tell Gunner not to come here because I'm not going to be here. And then all of a sudden, he's at Georgia, and I said, yay. So that's how that all happened. They've been wanting to be together forever, and Mike's dad helped Gunner growing up. And, of course, Gunner wanted to come to Georgia all along, so it ended up kind of like Brock Vandergriff, always wanted to come here, and then things worked out.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Were there any other questions, Dayne?
That's all we have. I think we're out of time.
Yeah.
How about our quarterback situation? But when you look at, we just got that kid committed from IMG for 28, and
Jaden Wade
Curtis coming in here next year, and they're going to be. Obviously, we're going to have to see what happens with Ryan and the kid from Ohio, but hopefully they'll stick around. But we've definitely got a good situation there. But I do have how much time we got?
We're wrapping the show, but we have time for whatever you want.
One joke, and it's a little raunchy, but it's still funny, and it's what we need to have here. When we beat Texas like this, coach can tell a joke. So this lady's in this jewelry store, and she's looking at all the jewelry, and she looks over, she bends over and sees this beautiful diamond ring in the case, and right when she bends over, she lets a fart, and she said, "Oh, excuse me," and the guy looks at her, and she said, "By the way, how much does that ring cost?" And he said, "Well, if you let a fart just looking at it, you're going to shit your britches when I tell you how much it costs." All right. That's pretty good.
Hey, sports fans, that's all the time we have for this week's show.
Hey, don't drop me because of that. But that's
No, you're fine.
at least one fan saying there right now they like the joke.
They are. They love it, Coach.
There's like 5 in the chat already laughing.
What? They what?
They're laughing at it right here.
I hope so. I need to get a little levity here, but I mean, I got some really good raunchy jokes, but I don't want to tell them on the air.
Yeah.
I think
that's where our drives to North Carolina barbecue. That's where we
pretty,
have
that's pretty clean. But can you imagine that? If I tell you what it really costs. All right.
Hey, folks. Hey, be sure to join us for the watch along show this coming Saturday with Charlotte. It's
what time is the game? 12:45.
Yes, sir.
What is it on a stream or what is it?
It's SEC Network.
Yeah, I was about to say it. It's on network. So
who's doing the game?
I think Stitch got it.
We are.
I know, but who's doing it?
I'm not sure the play-by-play.
I thought Stitch had it. The crew with him.
Check it out.
Alyssa Lang, I think. So we'll double check with them. Anyway, we'll grab it real quick. We'll grab the link for the watch along show and we'll share it here shortly. And that way everybody will know what link to hit to join us this Saturday.
Don't forget to get 2 people within your system to just subscribe to here. Let's see if we get a massive amount of subscriptions today.
We want a bunch of followers for the show. And that way, and if you hit the little alert button, it'll let you know when we're live. So please subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, mean a lot to Coach. Dayne doesn't care. He doesn't care about anything.
Dayne, boy, he's big on that. I mean, ever since Dayne joined the network, we've had unbelievable jump. It was like, how much when you started, Dayne?
It was less than 10K.
Yeah, you the man, Dayne. You the man.
That's a team thing. That full team effort.
Yeah. All right, folks. We'll see you later. Y'all.